Welcome to Harlots of Spooktalk, where we dive deep into the chilling tales that haunt our world and explore the darker sides of human nature. I'm your host, LD Patty Loma.
And I'm La Monyeka. Today we're peeling back the layers of one of the most shocking true crime cases in recent.
So,
All right.
anyways,
Let's get started. So we have Chris. Christopher was born Christopher Lee Watts. He was born May 16th, 1985 in Springdale, North Carolina. They say when he was growing up, he was a very quiet kid. They say he talked when needed to, when he was talking to his teachers. He had a couple friends, but he was more of a I want to stay inside. He had a sister who was very extroverted. She was like the life of the party, and everybody knew him to be very quiet, like the quiet little brother. You know what I'm saying? Like they say him and his sister
introvert.
were complete opposites. Yes, if he's very introverted, his sister was like going out with friends, hanging out. He was always wanting to be at home. So that's one thing that I kind of thought was a bit weird when you start seeing all his interviews. He's a blah 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 blah. Like
Blah, blah,
for an
blah.
introvert who
Yeah.
never talked, he blah 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 blah.
Well, that's how all
So
the quiet guys are. Like, I'm not trying to change the subject. I'm just saying, have you ever gone on a date with a quiet guy? Like, that is real sus. If you're on a date and you're being quiet, you are a sus person. Don't do that shit.
for him, I would be uncomfortable. I'd be like, say something. You know,
I'd
they
be
don't.
like,
This is the thing. When you date a quiet guy, you ask all the questions and they answer.
"Mhm."
So it's like they don't.
but
That's
they
it.
don't,
That's all it
but
is.
they
Like it's
don't
all
give
you
it
just being
back.
yourself.
You're just
Yeah.
like, so what do you do for fun?
It's almost like you're
Um,
in an interview. It's very awkward.
Either like, well, I have this rash on my left. Oh, can you elaborate your rash? No, they won't. They'll be like, I don't know. I saw the word rash and I went for it.
Suck it. But I mean, okay, so that's what they. I mean, even throughout his whole life, they say he wasn't someone who was out there. They always compare him to his sister about how she was always going to parties, beach, going doing trips and things like that. And he was one to just kind of hang out at be at home.
He's like, hey, I got
So
my Xbox. Okay, like,
yeah, I just
use
want to be home.
it.
I just want to be home.
Exactly.
And then let's see, Shannon Watts was, of course, she was born January 10th, 1984 in Clifton, New Jersey, and she was an extrovert. I love how this happens though in life, not in this situation, but how the introvert always winds up meeting the extrovert and they just mesh well.
It's because opposites attract. You kind of just go on with the flow with your life and wherever you end up. And if you end up with the quiet boy, I don't know, start asking questions now.
For real. Yeah, now you guys know, okay? Ask questions. So they say, okay, so what I've heard and what I've read is that Chris um Chris had a very formal like parenting. Like it was very strict. They were intertwined with his
Mhm.
life. He like I said, he was an introvert. So he was introverts usually do interact with their parents a lot more than extroverts because extroverts are out there wilding out. And considering what happens later on when they get married is I noticed that because of his introvertness, he was very close to his parents, almost too close, almost uncomfortably too close. So much that
Mhm.
they had a lot to do with the problems that him and Shannon Watts were having later on in their marriage. See, Shannon, when she grew up, she was considered to be like the life of the party, very beautiful girl, very loving. She was explained as growing up to be a very beautiful kid inside and out, very sweet, loved her children, loved her parents. Like she came from a very loving home, not so structured in the sense of how they say he grew up. He grew up an introvert with his parents all up in his business, all up in his life. Like
Yes.
I hate to say it, but his mommy probably picked his clothes up for a long time. Like that's how close, you know what I'm saying? They say that this family was. And her coming from a very loving family, a very open family, being an extrovert, I'm sure, her parents knew she liked to go out. She came home safe. She was a
Mhm.
very loving girl, but also very safe. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
so they actually meet on Facebook. And that's kind of just how she wrote.
Yeah.
So his background was he was a very calm kid, very introverted, but very intertwined with his family, almost to a point where, like, I guess you would say an introvert would be. She was considered to be an extrovert, a very outgoing woman, Jersey girl. I mean, think
Yeah,
about what you would think a Jersey girl with, minus the crazy wildness. Like of course she had fun. She was an extrovert, but she wasn't like sloppy. She wasn't anything like that, you know?
just like a
And
classy lady,
yeah, and like I said, they say
professional.
she came from such a loving environment, they couldn't understand why this may have happened. And so here we are now where they meet on Facebook. They seem to have hit it off. They loved each other very much. They got married, they got a house, they had two girls, and then um finance, a lot of times in marriages finances hit, and that's one of the main reasons for divorce is financial difficulties. They're fighting over financial difficulties, and around this time there was a little financial difficulties in and out, and I know that they were saying that Shannon was having problems with his parents being in their marriage, so much that there was text messages to her friend where she was saying like, I'm just so tired of him, not just being so submissive to his parents and not letting them stay out of our business and things
Yeah.
like that. And I know that they said she had been out for a business trip. She came home, and then she had a very very close friend named Nicole who didn't hear from her right after she got back.
So,
So I
yeah,
mean, this is her best friend, right?
right. So they went on a business trip because, she was working once they moved from Colorado, right?
Hmm.
They were both working and then they just weren't making enough, so they ended up moving, selling their house, and they got another beautiful home. And this is
Hmm.
where she kind of leaves like the call center at the hospital to move into selling health supplements. And so, with that kind of like industry, you go to a lot of um, meetings, you have like the big get-togethers, and everything.
Yeah, yeah, where
So,
they give you more information and.
mhm. And she had a lot of good friends in that group. What had happened is that friend, she dropped her. It was like in the middle of the night. I can come
Mhm.
back and find you the time later, but middle night drops her off. It has it shown on the camera where the friend drops her off. She's unlocking the front door, and they don't
Mhm,
see
yeah.
anything other than what the neighbor's camera showed. But um, it was like, so she was like, okay, the next morning, she's like, okay, she would have called me by now. And she's trying to call her, she's trying to call her, she's trying to call her. And she can't get a hold of her. So eventually she gets to the house. She tries calling Chris, and he's like, um, oh, I don't, he just flats out tell her, hey, we're separating, you know, doesn't give her any, just we're separating. And this quiet man becomes very talkative when the friend gets to the door. She looks in the door and she can still see her best friend's shoes by the door. And she's like, okay, something's up. She's not answering her phone. What is going on? So she calls the
Mhm,
police. Police show up and they're looking, around, and they're like, so they end up calling Chris. They're like, hey, uh, we're doing a wellness check. Like, what's going on? He's like, I'm 5 minutes down the road. So he's like, okay. So he gets home and he goes in the house, and they're like, hey, when's the last time you've seen her? And he just did not seem worried at all, right?
mhm,
They had the videotapes of it from the officers, cam, and he was like, and there was like sheets that were taken from the bed. They were just pulled off and they were kind of just thrown in there. And he's like, oh, well, sometimes when she comes back from her big trip, she likes to take the sheets off, so that's why they're there. He's like, and then there was a phone. So you get to the top of the stairs and there's a phone right on top of that ledge, her cell phone.
mhm.
Like, and so they're like, is that his? And he just grabs it. He's kind of like looking through it or whatever. I don't know what he's doing exactly with it, but so at this point, the friend is definitely freaking out. She's like, where is she?
There's no sign of forced entry anywhere or for any reason why
Right.
she would look like she's missing. Her shoes are at the door, her cell phone's still there, like, that's what makes this all crazy when they come in to do the wellness check.
Well, yeah, and then well, when he comes into the house, he goes in through the garage, and it takes him less than a minute to make it to the front door, right? And so they were like, so by that point, they're like, okay, what time did you leave? He says he had to go to work at 3:30 in the morning, something. So it shows on the neighbor's cam the where he's backing out. You could just see his truck backing in, but you can't really see anything else unless I missed something on the information. But from there, that's when they started like, okay, where is she? What's going on? All he would say was, oh, she's at her friend's. But while that cop was in there and they're having this discussion about it, he just kept this introvert like yap 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 and just over
Yeah.
talking, just talking all the
Yes.
time. And even the like his friend was like I don't know who it was exactly, but I guess it
His
was
neighbor. When the cops came, the neighbor came out and asked the cops, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said, "Hey,
yeah,
we're looking into this woman." So the guy knows him, so he goes in with
yeah,
him into the house, and then as he's walking out of his own front door, the cop stops the neighbor, and he kind of you can even see him in the video in the cam from the cop. He kind of looks back like, "Hey, are y'all coming?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we're coming. I'll be right out there." And it's the neighbor. He tells him he's acting weird. And
right. That's who it
he
was. He was
called
like
it. His neighbor called it. He's like, "He knows my
very
camera is
sus.
over here." He's like, "This guy never talks." And all of a sudden he's talking. That's weird. He was like, "This guy, I mean, when he's like, he never talks." He goes, "I know he's trying to cover his tracks or something to happen." He's like,
Something's
"This guy
brewing.
never talks." And all of a sudden he's yapping. He's like, "That's weird. That's weird
Mhm.
face behavior." And he just notices the signs. When you live next to people for years or just, even months, you pick up on their habits, you pick up on the way they are. And if you are the way these two were, which they say the wife was very welcoming and the neighbors were welcoming to them, you get to know your neighbors and they know you. And for this guy to know that this introvert was a very introverted man, and then
Mhm.
just to be yapping, 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 like that's very red flag behavior.
Yes. So it's just like it was just wild. So by then they just pull him in, to do questioning. And
Hmm.
he's still talking a lot, but his story isn't adding up. He said that he went to work, they were separated, he wasn't giving a lot of information. So he brings his dad in with him when he goes to do his polygraph test. The lady was one of the investigators that did she said, if if you are lying or trying to cover up yourself, I strongly suggest you do not take this test
Hmm.
because so they do it and they can easily tell that he's lying. So of course he failed the polygraph test.
He did.
And from there, he was like, I don't know, da da da, just making up a bunch of BS. And um, by then, the investigators did, they left the room and they put his dad in there, and then that is where they got a
They were
confession.
smart for doing that, though. The detectives knew. They were using this technique where it's like they give him comfort, they let him know he's not a bad person, they know that he's a good guy, like, could something have happened? Then this is where I think there was a big mistake. The investigators ask him, after he loses the polygraph and everything, the same two investigators go and talk to him, and they're telling him, like, "Hey, look, you've already felt this. We know that you know something more than what you don't know, or you're saying you don't know. And, why don't you just tell us, like, did she do something to the kids? Did she do something?" They ask him first before he ever says anything. The guy asks him in the interview, did she do something to the kids? He's like, "No, no, no, like I don't know what's going on, like I don't know."
Oh
No, no, no.
no,
Well, then
yeah, that's what
they
he said
step
at
out,
first.
they let the
But
dad go in, and the dad is kind of the one who gets his
well, that
horse.
was what he was saying. He was like, "Oh, Shannon hurt them first."
Yeah, when the dad
And
comes
then
in and the dad's like, "Do you need to tell me anything? Like, should we have a conversation?" And the dad even asks him too, "Did she hurt the kids? Did
well,
something
that's
happen?"
how they gave him an out. They were trying to give him an out to that way they can get the story.
Defense.
It was like a good
Mhm,
cop, bad cop there for a while,
mhm.
and
And
then
they were smart for sending the dad in because that's somebody who he trusts. So it's a very quiet conversation when the dad asks him.
I
Did
don't know what the dad's angle was on it, but he
Yeah.
ends up just
I don't
between
think the
his
dad knew that the
parents.
cops were using him to go in there for that, but, I mean, that's his dad, his dad wants to know.
He was just like, yeah, he's like, I killed her. And then he tells them like, oh, she killed the kids. But what happened was way worse. So, and you can and feel free to like add in with me because I'm pretty sure there's gonna be
Well,
missing.
during the yeah, because I forgot to say this too. During the polygraph test, after they take it and they question him, like, "You failed, so what are you not telling us?" What he told them there was that he had cheated on her. See, that's where the mistress comes out after the polygraph. He
Mhm.
proceeds to make it seem like the lie he was holding was that he was cheating on her. That was what he didn't tell
Yes.
them. Then it goes into them asking him what happened, and the dad tells him, "Hey, what happened?" And then
But
he
they
confesses that
already knew.
she
I mean,
hurt the kids.
he told him, he was like, "Yeah, we already know." And then that's when he kinda started spewing a little bit more at a time.
Yeah. So with the dad having him confess, or what he says, that Shannon
Mhm.
hurt the kids and then he hurt her, is what they're saying, right?
Yeah,
Now, they were saying that even in his interview, when we look at the interview, if you guys ever look at his porch interview where he's outside of his house, he has no crying, he has no remorse, and he's just like, I feel like I'm in a nightmare. He's smiling half the time. And then he starts talking about his daughter in a past tense. See, somebody who's looking
yeah,
for their kid isn't thinking that they're dead automatically, but somebody who knows that they're dead will talk about them in a past tense.
right.
So now, now here we are scrambled up with the dad, the confession, she killed the kids and I killed her, and this is only the first story that comes out right now.
Right.
So his story in this moment of being caught by the polygraph is that she hurt the kids because they were going to break up, and she was so upset she snapped and she hurt the girls. And then he gets so angry. He says he didn't hear nothing. He says he didn't even hear it happen. And that when I guess, I don't know if he said he went upstairs or he went up there, wherever, like he found out that she did that, and then
Yeah.
he did the same thing to her. Now, even when he gives this confession, I didn't see no tears. I didn't see no
Oh,
tears. I
no,
didn't hear no tears.
he didn't start crying, until I'm trying to get a, like, a picture at least. I'm gonna reshare the videos on YouTube, but yeah, he didn't start crying until he was busted. Then he started crying. Actually, I
Oh,
have a picture of it. You
yeah.
wanna see?
Let's see.
Um, so let's see. Okay, here we go.
And this is just the tip where this all happens.
Yeah, so the one in the blue, that's his
This
dad.
is his
That's
dad. Yeah.
Chris.
These are the two investigators.
That's his little bald head. And then the two investigators, like you said, sorry. And yeah, so I mean, at that point, that's when he started crying in the interview
Yeah.
because he was caught. Like he had just told his dad he killed her. And then he starts crying, well, she killed the kids,
I
so
killed
I
the kids
had to.
first, and then here I am, and I did it right to her, and what kind of person am I? All that crap.
But he did an interview on his porch and he was practically laughing. That's the
Mhm.
interview I wanted to download, but I wasn't able
Yeah.
to pull that up. But it was just crazy. But here, let me see.
So now here this happens, right? Okay. The next step in this investigation is that, okay, we have the confession. She hurt the kids, he hurt her. But then, so where are the bodies? So then he confesses to throwing her somewhere in a shallow grave and then putting his two girls in these big old uh what are they called?
Yes.
Like they're these oil tins that are out there in the dam by his job somewhere. And
So,
so
yeah. So okay. So what had happened? Sorry. So his coworker actually had, like, he had pre-planned this whole thing for a while. Like he had planned
he
on
knew what he was
marrying.
doing, even though in the beginning he was like, "Oh, this wasn't planned." No, the more we find out, the more we start to see that this was premeditated.
Yeah, and so his coworker was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come out to work with you." It'd be like 3:30 in the morning, and he was like, "Well, there's no sense of both of us going. Why don't I just go? I don't mind going by myself." And eventually the coworker was like, "Yeah, okay." So what he tells, he tries to suffocate the kids or something. I don't remember. I kind of blanked out because I was just so
Okay, so
distraught.
I know that part. No, no, no. Okay. So after confessing here, he tells the people he threw Shannon just somewhere in a shallow grave, and then he put his girls in these oil big bins they're like these very big
Well, he
wall.
tried to kill him at the house first. He tried to kill him at the house. And yeah, and then it wasn't successful. So while he was killing the wife, the girls come in there and they're just screaming and they're crying and they're like, "What are you doing to
Okay,
me?"
so So that okay, hold on. Let me just throw this one in there real quick because that's a little bit that's one of the third stories he gives out later. So the when he leaves from here, okay, so right here where we're at, in this point where after he's leaving the investigators, he tells the investigators he threw the girls' bodies in the oil tins and he leaves her a shallow grave, right? Okay, that's what he says first. This is the first story. Then the longer he's in jail, he's been having these nightmares. He has somebody come in and do he wants to talk to you. So now that he's in jail and he's been put in jail about the girls, right?
Mhm.
He has somebody come and talk to him while he's in jail. And he does like a I don't know if it's I wouldn't call it an interview. He just wants to give more information. So now
Right.
that he's already been so okay, so he's already been going to court and things like that. He's in jail. Now all of a sudden he's when he goes to okay, so when the jury and the judge decide that they're gonna give him life in prison, but he takes a deal where if he takes the life, he won't be subject to the death penalty. He quickly
Mhm.
just signs for it. Boom, boom, I'm done. Just get me the fuck out of here. I don't want no media, nothing. Just get me out of here.
Yeah.
You know. So while
Yeah.
he's serving his time, he asks for somebody to come talk to him about the investigators to come back, right? So then
Mhm.
while he's literally barely the first couple of, I don't know, months in there and he wants to talk to somebody, he's saying that he's having problems sleeping. He needs to be like, he needs to have somebody talk to him or something, right? So he has the investigators come. This is where the second story comes out, the one you're talking about, where he says he needs to tell the truth now. Now that he's been tried and already signed for life
Mhm.
without parole and, you know, without the death sentence, he signed because he didn't want that death sentence. So he signs. He has somebody come in and talk to him, and now he wants to give another confession. And
Right.
the confession that he gives is that, and it's even taped and recorded. They say he said that him and his wife were talking about separation. She got upset and she turned over in the bed and was like, no, we're not having this, we're not going to be, you know, she's upset. Well,
Yeah.
he says he, like, you know, she was like trying to end the conversation and he was trying to tell her, like, this is it, like, for real, like, we're not going to be together anymore. So he straddles her and they're arguing and then he strangles her is what he tells them. He strangled
Yes.
her to death. And then the kids hear him and his the mom fighting and stuff. By the time he's done and she's not breathing anymore, the girls come in and he gets up and he kind of covers her and the girls ask him what happened to mommy and he says she's not feeling good right now. So then he what he does is he proceeds to go and get the truck, back it up, wrap her in the sheet, throw her in the
Mhm.
trunk, put the girls in alive into the car seats, and then he drives them out to this location that we're seeing right here.
Mhm.
And he says that he says he threw her in the shallow grave first, and then he drove out here to where his job was supposed to be right here. He went to these tins right here, these little white things.
Yeah.
He says that the girls were asking him like what's going on, where are we going, things like
Yeah.
that. And then he proceeds to get a blanket and smother one of them first. And once he smothers them and suffocates her, like strangles and suffocates her, he goes to around to the other daughter and she says, "Am I gonna is the same thing that happened to my sister gonna happen to me?"
Yeah, she
And
was like, "Why are you doing this? No, dad. No,
yeah,
no, no."
he says that she asked him before he started to suffocate her that, "Is the same thing that happened to her gonna happen to me?" And she says, "I'd like to tell you no like a good dad, but yeah." And so she's just like the last thing he hears her say is, "No, daddy, no." And he does the same thing. She passes away. He dumps them both in these tins, this tin right here, and then he goes on about
Well,
his life and
he
business.
puts them in 2 separate tins because he
Mhm.
was supposedly worried that they were gonna get out somehow. So he
Oh, okay.
separates
So
them.
I didn't know if it was one or two. Okay, so he
Yeah,
separates them, but still.
let me
And
show
then
you.
from okay, so you're gonna pull that. So then the problem that he's having now while he's in prison is that every freaking day and every freaking morning and every day, all day, he hears his daughter's voice saying, "No, daddy, no." And it was bothering him so much that he felt that he needed to confess what he really did. So that's where his second story comes in, right? This is the second story now. He had the first one that he did when he went to court. He's got this one now because he can't sleep and he's got his daughter's voice in him telling him, "No, daddy, no." Every time he closes his eyes, can't sleep. So he confesses again to these people. Okay. Now while he's in prison, he gets a story. He gets somebody gets a hold of him, an author who's wanting to write the book about him. So he starts sending this author the story of what those that happened, right?
Right.
There the author turns over some of his documents to the cops to make sure
Mhm.
that it matches up, to keep with what she's saying is correct, or he or she, whichever author that was. And this is where the premeditated thoughts come in. As he's writing the story about what's going on and he's sending it to her so that she can edit and do it and get it ready, he remembers saying that the night before he strangled the mom, he tucked his girls into bed, and he remembers
Mhm.
thinking, "This is the last time I'm gonna tuck them into bed."
Right. Yep.
So this is what he wrote to the author to write for his original book of what happened. So when he was in court, he was like, "Oh no, this wasn't premeditated. She had killed my kids, and then I just snapped and I killed her, and I didn't know what to do, and I panicked. I just threw her in the thing, threw her away, and then put my girls away." Like any man, like think about this. Do you remember that case where the guy had a wife who was suffering from depression, and the mom was helping her and helping her and helping her, but then the mom had to go home to do some things, and then in the moment where the dad leaves, the grandma's on the way. In that few minutes, she kills all her kids, and then the
Yeah.
dad comes right home, and then it's like a big thing. Like within a few moments of the dad leaving and the grandma trying to get there, she kills all the kids. Now, when the
Jeez.
dad gets home, he's frantic, he's crying, he's calling the cops. Like his reaction was natural. My
Yes.
wife just fucking killed my kids. I gotta call the cops. This guy was like, my wife killed my kids, so I killed her and I threw him away. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. That's
So his
exactly
so we
it.
know it was everybody knows it was nobody at the, in the moment with his story, nobody believed what he said. At the
Mhm.
same time, it was either was it premeditated or wasn't. And that was the biggest question. Now, years later, here he is writing his own story, and
Mm.
he pops it out his own mouth. Like he had literally tucked in his girls that night, and we're like, "This is the last time I'm ever going to tuck them in."
Right.
Why would he think that if he didn't plan to kill them too? I
Mhm.
think what happened, my opinion on this one was he was happy at first. They say he met a woman at work, which is the mistress, and mind you, that chick lied plenty of times for him too, but or just lied in general. But I feel like the way the story is said by other people and things like that, and through friends, it seems like what I got out of it was he started cheating at work. They were having problems about his parents and financial things. She was trying to do what she could, going to these seminars to get better and, for her job. And then I guess, I feel like he fell in love with the mistress and just came home and decided, I don't want you. I don't want to be with you. And just decided, I don't want you. And I have to let you go with the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like something happened to where he was just like, see, the way the mistress explains is, oh, it was just a hyperactive sex thing. But even to her, like she lies about certain things too. So I don't really think that it was planned to kill them. I think that the man decided he was going to try and go home and divorce his wife and leave clean cut with nothing. And maybe she said something that may have upset him and he got angry and he strangled her and just took the kids with her. I don't think he really thought about it like through. I think he was just like, fuck it. I don't think it was like pre planned for a long time. I think it was one of those things where like, okay, I'm going to leave my wife and fuck my kids. But then
Yeah.
and as he starts to, I think he had a little conversation about the mistress about leaving his wife. Then when he got there, the psychopath started to hit. I'm
Mhm.
gonna leave this. Why I'm gonna leave my wife, but I can't take the kids with me. Like, how is that gonna look? I'm moving on with a new life. Whatever reason he was love struck over this woman, I know the plan was that he had told her he was gonna leave his wife. But then when it actually started to happen, it wasn't unfolding the way he wanted to, and I think it was just timed where he thought, as and this is the thing, he had time because he even says like when she got home in the morning, right? Didn't she get home in the
Mhm.
morning?
Yes, it
In the
was
middle
like
of the morning?
middle of the night, like really late, like 11
Yeah.
PM to
Okay,
somewhere
so
late.
she gets home, crashes out, or whatever happens, and then somewhere in between all this stuff, he tucks in the girls and thinks in his mind like, "This is the last time I'm ever gonna tuck them in." Now, was
Yes.
that from him thinking because he was gonna leave their mom and she was gonna take the kids from him, or was it because he was already premeditatedly saying, I may have to kill my kids? That's the big question. So
Yeah.
for my opinion, just seeing everything, hearing everything, kind of just gathering the evidence on my area, I just see that he was probably going to leave his wife for his mistress. The wife probably said something he didn't like. Now, I'm pretty sure he was going to try to kill her and not
Yeah.
and get away with it. But seeing that the kids walked in, kids tell everything, kids aren't going to lie. That's when he was
Yes.
like, okay, I have to finish this and follow it through. I don't
Right.
think by any reason did she would have hurt the kids, because she was already on the verge of understanding with her friends' conversations through text that she was wanting to leave him too because he's so submissive to his parents and
Yeah.
doesn't, do everything with her. And so they were already having problems. So it's not like the wife didn't know that it was coming. See, a lot of times when women snap because their husbands are leaving, it's because it came out of nowhere and they can't even believe what's going on. And then boom, the brain snaps. You know,
Right. Mhm.
she was already prepared, you know?
Right.
So I
Exactly.
don't I don't I don't I don't buy into the story where he's like, "Oh, well, she snapped and killed the kids and then I killed her." Like, no.
Mm-mm.
If that was the case, then you would have called the cops, let them know what she did. I mean, if you really loved your kids, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And then she's pregnant. She was pregnant. So not only did he kill her, he killed his third child on the way. We didn't even talk
Yes.
about her being pregnant. She was pregnant.
Mhm.
And she even set up a camera. Did you see that camera where he was like, "We did it again. Oh,
Mhm.
oh,
Well, she
little
she, um
lie."
she caught him mainly because they were at a restaurant up the road. He said that he ran out of, like, his card got declined or something. He couldn't pay for the meal between him and the mistress, and so he just used their family credit card, you know? He was like, "That's the only reason I did is because I ran out of money, so I was like, in order to pay for it." So the meal came out to, like, 61 bucks or something, and
Mhm.
so the wife goes on there and she's like, "That's kind of expensive for what something that he would normally eat," you know? So she's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
looking she goes to that. I think it was only, like, 15 miles from home, so she looks at the menu online, and she's like, "Yeah, these prices are not matching up, like, what the hell?" And then she kinda just spirals from there.
yeah.
Um
So the restaurant was the way she found out it was such an expensive bill.
Mhm.
Wow, that's
Yes.
crazy, right?
Yes,
That lets you know though that she was watching their finances.
yes, exactly. I mean, I would if all my money are going in wherever my money's going, I wanna know where it's going.
Yeah, I literally have it linked up to notify me anytime I spend money in my account, just in case like anything gets spent and I
Mhm.
don't know what it is.
I'm trying to
And sometimes
upload.
sometimes spouses splurge on stupid things. Like I had a friend of mine one time
Mm.
who got mad at her husband because he spent money on a whole studio equipment and he's not even a singer.
Oh my
He's like,
gosh, really?
we can rent out this space so people can record. And she's like, what do you know about producing? So like sometimes, we have that spouse or where women go do crazy, shopping
Mhm.
or men buy random big things. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of one of the issues that they were having. So I mean, yeah, I can say like when you're married to somebody who's sharing finances, like somebody's got to watch the finances. And apparently that's just how he got caught.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I was trying to pull up that video, but I'm just not able to. It's just not going to let me. But that's okay because we pretty much got the whole story. I mean, even it's just
We
wild.
have a
And then,
creeper. We even have a creepy part to it too, the creepiest crap of this. We already
yeah,
got the 3 stories. We got the wife, figuring it out. We know about
mhm.
the mistress, whatever her lies came out to be. And
Yeah,
out of all
she
this
was just lying. She was like, there was some things that she's a good manipulator because a lot of those stories, they came out looking really good. I would have probably believed them, and that's why I'm not an investigator. But her stories were not matching up, and she just when even watching her do the interview, she just seemed nonchalant. Like she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to tell you everything. Let me tell you all the tea." But really, she
yeah,
was just manipulating the whole situation. Her
yeah,
stories
she was
weren't adding
stirring up
up.
tea, not giving it.
She was lying. Someone said that she oh my god, my mind just went blank. I'm so sorry. But yeah,
No,
it was just wild. And then but she ended up she got off. She didn't have to do anything. So she actually changed her name. She got a lot of hate after that because she knew that he was married. Like, she was trying to say that she didn't
Mhm.
know he was married. She lied about that.
She knew.
She freaking knew. She actually showed up at the house at least 2 or 3 times, and apparently they had sex in that bed. So
Ooh.
she's full of shit. Yeah. Um, but she changed her name, and they don't know if she's still in Colorado or who or where she's at. And he still to this day is like, hey, I'm sorry that that happened. But no, it wasn't her fault. None of it was her fault. I mean,
Somebody's got to live their life good while one is over there in prison.
yeah. I mean,
That's
that's what I'm
insane.
kind of like. You know, it. I don't
I don't
think
think
it would
he was
be.
gonna go that far, you know?
I don't think it would have been any justice for him for them both to be in prison. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, do I think she killed them? No, but I don't think she was completely innocent either. You know what I mean?
I don't think she knew the murders were gonna happen, but I have a feeling that she knew that he was trying to leave her, you know?
Yeah, and that would have been fine if she would just be honest, like, "Yeah, I knew," and then kept going back and forth.
She tried to play the deer in the headlights. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know.
and it was just like, man, she was so loud in that interview. I'm like, my goodness. But you know, fuck all the adults. I mean, the fucking kids, like, just I don't know. But anyways, when he went to prison, right? He got convicted. The first place he was at, he was hated so much that even he was not even wanted in prison. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for
they
sure.
were
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
were ready to like
There was
cut
lots of
him.
trouble with him. Mhm.
So they moved him to a correctional, like, what is it? The
Protective
prison? Yes.
custody. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they gave him 3 life sentences, and you know, he's he's a role model citizen supposedly. Um, but what are you gonna do? He has 3 life
Yeah.
sentences. He's not getting out anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think the death sentence would do him a favor. So, but they were saying, like, when the parents come up, what is crazy about it is the parents were like, "Oh, you don't know her like we knew her." Like, not her parents, his parents were like, "Oh,
His
you
parents
don't."
were saying that we didn't know Shannon Watts like they knew her, right?
Yeah, and they were just trying to
Yeah.
downplay her like she deserved it or something. But it was
Or
like
maybe she brought it on herself. Yeah.
I was like, "No, they fucking didn't."
That
And
kind of
but
showed too, like the way his parents were, the way she says they were, you know?
but then the parents came up there and they're like, "I don't know why you would say such mean and malice things. We have always treated him like he was our son,
Mhm.
like we loved her, she was loved, whatever, whatever, but they were nice about it, but oh my God, Chris's parents, like, really? What were you
Yeah,
thinking?
yeah. It's like putting salt on an open wound, you know?
Yeah, it's just like,
Like she's already dead, guys. Do we really gotta talk bad about her?
it doesn't even matter what you say about her at this point. The crime was
Yeah.
done. This is what happened.
Mhm.
That's bullshit. He shouldn't have done it. And
Yeah.
like, that doesn't justify him killing your grandchildren or anybody, period. That doesn't
Mhm.
I'm gonna get all hot.
Now, one thing about this story that we like because we're paranormal lovers, and I know you guys
Mhm,
are too, is that a lot of people, when they started to see these interviews, they started to notice different things. Now,
mhm,
this is one of the things that we didn't really talk about in the beginning when we were talking about the story, but I remember this. So, for those of you viewers who understand that some people can see other things that other people can't, during these interviews with him and the body cam from the police officers, 2 times in, or maybe 2 or 3 times in this house, the body cam picks up the apparitions of girls in their room playing while they're missing. So, like, in the very beginning where he's getting the phone and he's talking to the officer, there's a video where you can see the door room to their little girl's playroom. And it
yeah.
looks like 2 little girls playing. And they explain, the people who've been around that area at that moment were saying that there were no kids in the house at that time. So see, what
Oh,
happened
yeah.
was a lot of times people will talk about when children or people die, sometimes they're attached to the place that they lived or the place where they died, right? Now, this kind of brings in this is the craziest thing too. So while this guy Chris Watts is talking to a police officer, There's, I think, the neighbor or a brother, somebody was on the side of the in on like where he's talking to the police officer. This is what the officer sees. He sees Chris, a woman, and a man. And the man that's standing by the room, they see that this light randomly turns off in a brand new house. Okay, that's weird. Nobody catches it, but somebody else who was seeing the cameras later, saw it. Then the officer's still in the same position, but turns a little bit to the left because he's talking to the woman and Chris about how she doesn't take medicine. There's no seizures. They're going through all these questions. You see two little girls, like you see little girls playing in a room, like you see them like passing back and forth through the room, and it's something that, like I said, was overlooked. But to somebody who understands the dead, those little girls were either murdered in that house or came back to their house after they were murdered spiritually, and then they literally looked like they were playing. Another time,
Yes.
an officer came in and seen an apparition of a child going up and down the stairs, looking just like the silhouettes of his kids, of one of his kids. So, I my theory on that side of the spiritual side of it is those girls were dead by the time he had already made those talks, and either because they died in the house, they were already there, or when they died, their spirit ran back home. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. And actually, I have the video here
Let's see.
that I'm going to send you, and
That's
then
what
I'm gonna.
really put it that's what really put it into perspective for those of you who are paranormal, like, lovers, when they were seeing children in the same house where there was no children. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and there's a
That
lot
turned a
of
lot of
videos
heads in the
out there.
paranormal community.
Yes, there's a lot of videos on here. I'm gonna see.
I think I sent you to a couple of them where the actual arrow was, like, pointing at them.
Oh, did you? Let me
Yeah.
see. Can you resend those? And I'm gonna go ahead and pull
Yeah.
this one up. What am I doing? I gotta upload the video. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay.
Oh
I thought
my
it was well
goodness.
worth it for sure because I went through a couple of videos and I was just like, "Oh my gosh."
hmm Here we go. I was supposed to. Okay. So here's one. If it takes a minute. Sorry. Ugh. Come on.
Search it up real quick for you. Make sure I have the right one too. But
Is
yeah,
it?
so there were multiple times where like people were pointing out like, "Oh my God, why is there little girls playing in the back?" And people are like, "There's no little girls there." But then when they see the cameras, they're like, "There are little girls there," you know?
Yes, exactly. All right, here we go. So we're going to play some videos for y'all. Just kind of watch.
This footage is 100% real. It is documented police video captured by one of the investigators' body camera. So shortly after entering the house, they catch some strange video on the stairs. Many viewers believe that this looks like a quick glimpse of a childlike apparition descending the stairs. But it could just be a
Wow.
video glitch. You decide. But then the policewoman begins to catch multiple strange and unusually clear EVPs on her body cam.
There's your attic access right there. So there's your attic access right there.
But strangest of all, while investigating an upstairs closet, the investigators hear something that actually seems to spook them. An unexplained voice of a giggling child can be heard, but there's absolutely no explanation for where the sound came from. The canine officer is so spooked she asks the other officer to check it out.
Oh my gosh. What in the world was that? Wow. Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came from.
Sounded like a kid toy. There was I heard it.
Did you hear it?
I did.
Sounded like a kid giggling or something, didn't it? Or a kid.
It did.
Right, well, we're making note of that.
I heard it. Definitely heard the same thing you did.
Yeah, I know.
But the story gets even stranger. 1 month after the tragic incident, police are called back to the empty house because neighbors report seeing a woman moving around inside the home. Also, someone had turned on the inside garage lights. The police found no one inside, but some viewers believe that they might have caught something else. The police officer is standing at the top of the stairs. It almost looks as if some small shadow peeks out from behind him, just for a second.
Ooh,
So is the Watts
wow.
house haunted by the spirits of Shanann and her daughters? Or are these simply tricks of the light and random noises?
oh wow.
After seeing these, I started thinking maybe he did kill the kids in the house before they left.
Well, yeah, because I don't know. We should do, I was thinking, um, we're always like trying to like figure out our brand and ideas and we both see ghosts all the time. We should something like that
Look
where
into
we
this
can
one.
do like unsolved ghosty stuff. But I'm gonna share another one with y'all. Let's see here. Okay. This is the second video.
Lights turn off by themselves.
It was shut down.
The ghost of the little girls
How often does her blood sugar drop low?
begin
Fish.
walking in the same
Yeah,
room.
you see, and they're
Oh
they're
my
looking.
gosh.
This is the best friend.
She doesn't ever black out or have seizures or anything like that.
Neighbor was showing camera footage when a weird commercial of baby in stomach and a skull
I
in
don't
an oil
know.
rig comes
How
up.
far along?
Keep in mind that their bodies
I
was
don't know
found
about
in an
that.
oil rig.
I watched the interview. I don't think that was a thing.
her friend said it was local.
Now I don't know what to believe. You messed it up when they put the TV stuff on there because I'm like, oh, and I saw the interview. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, I just felt like it was crazy. Like I feel like after seeing all this stuff about the ghosts being in the house and stuff, and then people
Yeah.
seeing, the neighbors saying that they've been seeing a woman in there, it almost seems like coming from the paranormal area of it, I think everybody died in the house. And then he just disposed of the bodies and the spirits were stuck to the house. Many times I've moved into different houses, especially when I was younger, when I was so not trained and to know certain things where I'm learning what I was learning. I remember moving my kids into a house where a man had beat this woman to death, and and we had a very long hallway. So I would literally it was a three bedroom, one, two, three, yeah, three bedroom, one bath, and all the rooms were in like all there was a hallway and the L shape was just the restroom at the end. I would be at the end of the hallway on my couch sometimes,
Right.
and then I just remember I remember turning into the hallway and seeing this man grabbing this woman and about to hit
What?
her. And I would jump out of my couch thinking like, holy shit, like somebody's here. And it would disappear. So like coming from the paranormal person who can actually see things when you walk into a house sometimes, and then watching all this happen and seeing how these things are there and how the neighbors are saying they're seeing her and the children there, and when you see it here, the kids are playing like nothing happened, you know. So I just coming from knowing what happens to spirits being stuck to certain places, I really don't see him killing his children outside the house. I feel like he did what he did, like he said, with his wife. The kids
Yeah.
came in, and then in the moment he just did it right then and there with them as well.
Yeah.
Because there's no usually when a body dies elsewhere, the body is either I feel like the bodies the girl spirits would have been wondering if they were killed in the oil rig area, because no child would have been able to make her way back home spiritually if they were brought that far out away from their home.
Oh,
But to know how sometimes when something tragic happens, like even when we talked about the asylums, people who die in the asylums, very ugly, very gruesome, very they're stuck to that place. Their
well, if
spirit
you
is
don't,
stuck to that
it
place.
it depends on like how traumatic your death was.
Mhm.
That's what kind of leaves you in this limbo. Well, it depends on how you see
Mhm.
it, what you believe in, but I don't. I feel like as a child you have that innocence, so you're able to kind of just go visit your family. You're able to see it, but
Mhm.
for like a normal like adult, it's like depending on how bad your trauma is. I mean, I've had spirits that didn't know where the heck they were. I've had
Yeah.
spirits that knew where they were and they were just coming through to visit. I had one
Mhm.
earlier at my sister's house. Came in, said hello, and said goodbye, and that said a couple words, and she was out. Easy peasy.
Mhm.
You know, it just really depends. If it's something so traumatic or so quick, like you didn't expect it, like a freak accident, they're gonna
To a
be like
child,
they
could
have
have
to
been something like
process
what would
it.
happen.
You have to process, like, how did I get here? What brought me here? Why am I still here? How do I go into the light? What do I do? You're like the Jennifer lady on the freaking spicy meme. She's like, what do I do? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Or the interview. I got one video and then we can let y'all go. Sorry. Didn't mean-
Let's see it.
I hate.
See, they see this little child too at the stairs,
Yeah.
like from
So
kind of like
solid.
in the same area.
I can.
Yeah. It's funny how they saw that child come out from behind somebody too, in the same area.
I mean, I don't know. What do y'all think? Like, sometimes people are really good with the computer. It's a cute house.
Yeah. I feel like if we were to talk to another paranormal person who's had a lot more experience like us
Oh,
with
and there was a
how
there was a
spirits
mirror
behave.
too. Sorry.
No, no, you're okay. I'm looking at it still.
And
Yes.
then this kind of goes into the last video we watched.
Hi, it's me.
Oh.
I miss your face. I was just
You know,
calling
people
to
have
say hi.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
So, these are things that people have heard in the house.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of voice boxes right outside the house where people go and just do the voice box right outside the house,
Yeah.
and they pick up the EVPs too.
And y'all feel free if y'all see like when we're sharing the videos from the TikTok, feel free to follow those followers or creators as well. But I hope you are spooked with all due respect.
Yeah, after seeing everything that happened, and then we definitely were just trying to give you guys our last what is it called? Our last true crime. Sorry, guys. Yeah,
True.
we were just trying to
It's
give you
so
guys a little bit
sad.
last true crime, and then this just happened to kind of roll on top of our lap about the paranormal experiences people were having. So if we can creep you out, we will. We will.
Yes, absolutely. So leave a comment, subscribe, tell us what you think. Don't be a jerk face because I'll block you. I'm just kidding, but really. Um, so, anyways, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Stay spooky.
Hi, guys.